culvert. The fish passage number that they wanted us to meet is impossible to meet, and so that's part of the conversation that we continue to have with them. And I think, you know, I don't know what they'd have for information, but this is good. I think we need to press back and you know, there's a lot of anecdotal stuff of people who've obviously seen fish. So.
I was a game warden for over 20 years, and I enforced the laws there. In the 1990s, NOAA pushed us into putting more restrictive trout fishing regulations in because of the salmon. We spent $26 million a year for years and years and years to bring back the salmon. They're not coming back. You know, we could spend $26 million a year to bring the dinosaurs back too, but they're not coming back. You know, things go extinct. People don't. So what's more important, the Atlantic salmon or people?
That's a good question for Noah.
I want to know what the studies are. Because you can open up that passageway and there could never be another Atlantic salmon or another fish come through that bridge. And it's too late after we do it. We've ruined people's land, we've ruined history. And the other thing I want to mention is Machias, and nothing against Machias. Machias is mentioned as the one that's losing stuff. Marshfield is losing more than Machias is. We have 55 people that are going to be directly affected by this bridge going. And I would just like some answers. What are the studies? You know, what fish are there? What fish were there? What's the history? Because moving forward without that, you got to admit it's a little bit putting the cart before the horse.
So, conversation. It really is about the Atlantic salmon at the end of the day. And
I know.
That's really what it comes down to.
I know. I spent 25 years doing it.
So you know.
But they're not coming back. You know, how much? I mean, there was one quote in the paper back a while ago. If they had the money that was spent to go to Mars, they could bring the Atlantic salmon back. Well, we don't want to spend that kind of money on the Atlantic salmon. I mean, let's put something else in there that is going to thrive. I mean, dinosaurs went extinct. We're not trying to bring them back.
I think this is a good conversation for Noah. You have no idea how much we share your frustration because we overbuild a lot of bridges because of Atlantic salmon. Our work windows are crazy to the point that contractors have about, 6 weeks to be in the water all summer long, and you can imagine how much we pay for that.
I understand, but how long are we going to put up with Noah? I mean, they're not here. Does anybody see Noah here? They won't be here next week. They won't be here when the economic thing crashes because of the climate. They won't be here. They could care less what happens to Washington County. But let's bring the salmon back. I think we need to stand up to Noah and have both. Why can't we have both? That's what I like to say.
I would say we have stood up to NOAA since 2009, and we have not been successful. And now the condition of the bridge is such that that's what's pushing us to do something.
Good afternoon. My name is Dwayne Shaw. I'm Executive Director of the Down East Salmon Federation. And yes, I think we can have both. And there are places where many, many communities benefit from having both. Some of these things seem completely infeasible. I worked for 10 years as a shellfish biologist out of Beals Island, worked up and down the coast of Maine, doing shellfish restoration with clammers and communities. And a good friend of mine in Harrington called me about 2 years ago, and he said, "Wait, what are these holes out here on the clam flats? I don't know, it's a seagull, there's something going on out here. And by the way, we're seeing this really strange fish." And you talk about dinosaurs and prehistoric fish, there's something called a sturgeon, right? And most people in Machias maybe have never seen one in the local waters, and neither had Bobby Beal over in Harrington. And we teased it apart and figured out these are sturgeon, and they're coming on the clam flats, and they're taking little Dixie cup loads of mud out, and they're looking for clams, perhaps green crab, and other things to eat. So why all of a sudden are there sturgeon in Pleasant Bay, where there's another set of tigers, by the way? And the only answer that seems to be likely is that the dam removals the Edwards Dam removal on Kennebec, where on any given day you can walk down into the center of Augusta and watch these dinosaurs jumping out of the water, one after another. People pull up there and watch them. It's absolutely amazing. The Penobscot, same thing. Major, distress over what are we going to do about these old, decrepit structures? There's a lot of old, decrepit infrastructure that we're wrestling with, trying to find win-wins. And they now have shad fisheries shad derbies going on that river where there have been only very, very few shad ever documented for centuries. So they can come back, dinosaurs even, and the sturgeon are older than dinosaurs, in fact. So the point is it's incumbent upon us to try and to continue to try to work together. And in the case of Downey Salmon Federation, I've said, I'm a resident of the town of Franklin, and I sit right at Hog Bay and Donnell Pond, and I watch the fish move back and forth in that location. And we, the Salmon Federation, which was created by local anglers and conservationists, many were in the room, Gary, one of them, David, another, it's all, any number of folks really been supportive of what we've been doing over time through Helen's, and we're in it together. This stuff is falling apart. It needs to be dealt with. We can try to throw NOAA under the bus. We can say, the Endangered Species Act should never been passed. You could blame Richard Nixon for signing the bloody act. But in the end, we do care about fish, and it is possible to bring these things back and have our cake and clams and eat them. But it's not going to be easy. And DOT, in our opinion, from the Downey Salmon Federation, Bill Robbins spoke earlier, we have about 1,000 members in the region and probably 4,000 people of various walks of life that support us. We have 2 salmon hatcheries, one in East Machias, one in Columbia Falls, and we're stocking 3 rivers, the Narragansett, the Pleasant, and the East Machias. And we're on the cutting edge of new science around how do you run a hatchery that actually works. So the federal people, they can make mistakes over and over and over again and stay in that rut, or they can innovate. And the non-governmental groups like the Downey Salmon Federation are in the job of innovation between all of this mess that we're in, whether it's PFAS or you name it, stocking salmon that never return. It's not beyond reasonable doubt that we can figure some of this out, and that Washington County can actually lead, as we have in so many ways over so many years. The long beds, the history of these places, most of our families were involved in this in one way or another. Dam builders, loggers, farmers, fishermen, you name it, on and on. And today there's a new economy, and I'm part of it. 12 employees that we have working in Washington County right now, plus numerous interns, tons of students, lots and lots of volunteers are putting time, hearts, and souls into this, and because we're making progress. And that's the restoration economy. So when we look at a 200-year-old dam in Whiting, and it's for sale, Downey Salmon Federation stepped in and bought it. When there was a house that burned on the dike in Addison, right on the structure, the landowners came to us and said, "You've convinced us. We think we'd like this to go to you." As did the worm buyer, Donnie Baird, who has property upriver, marshland. He came to us and said, "Yeah, it makes sense. You should recover these ecosystems that feed us and that we can be proud of." So we're here to stay. We want to work together. We're not going to throw Noah under the bus. U.S. Fish, DMR, IFW, DOT. You're all moving too slow as far as we're concerned. This stuff needs to be dealt with, and the DEP is another in terms of this PFAS situation. So if there's a way to fix some of this, we want to be right there with you all, and that includes people who use the dike and sell antiques or whatever they do, or putting some cattle out on the marshes. If there's a way to do it, we want to try to work together. But we are in support of this alternative at this point in time, and that is contingent upon any future information that might come that says the plant plot's going to get contaminated, or someone's well's going to get destroyed, or anything like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just one more question. Whatever happened to the salmon where they used to be up in there, where'd that go? There you go, Atlantic salmon, there's no more. Okay, now it's goes down and down here. I don't get it. What happened up there? Why don't we start that one back up? That used to be a nice thing up there, you're going out there, it's not there anymore.
Anybody else would like to speak? Or we can also spend some time with you individually. Please come on up.
Hello, my name is Charles Robbins. I'm from Wade, Pleasant River. I have friends in Marshfield, and I have friends in the Salmon Federation, so I don't really have an opinion on this project. But I did work for the MDOT for a few years on the diet, and I worked on a few bridge projects. Are any of you familiar with any bridge, and similar hydraulics and water levels and all this? Can we compare this one here? Any of you know of the bridge? Compare it? Anybody?
Not entirely sure what you're asking.
Well, there's going to be certain hydraulics, water moving in a certain direction.
Yeah, no, we have been looking at that, and we need more specific information. Part of choosing an alternative is to do survey to get more information on the ground. We have high-level information right now.
A good example, I think, would be Bagadoos in Penobscot. We worked on that bridge. It's a narrow bridge. It's almost like a Venturi, a carburetor. The water is channeled into a narrow bridge. And there's extreme currents. As the time we worked there, we tried to take elevations. We had a dive team there. And while they were playing with the seals, the water level was equal for just a few minutes, like 15 minutes. And then it fluctuates because the water is restricted in that area. When that water moves, you're going to move some vegetation, silt, gravel, everything in that area. And I think for this new land, they're going to be moving siltation for a long time. Do you have any plans to handle the siltation?
That's definitely something we need to study more. We don't have solid answers right now, but that's part of looking at this, is to answer those questions.
There'll be dredging and other problems, plant erosion, and flooding in certain areas. It's going to change the whole environmental impact in that whole area. And I don't want to tick off my friends in Marshfield. I support them. They've always been my friends. And I'm worried about their concerns too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sally.
Anyone else would like to speak?